Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown
Joel Enrique.
and we are talking about $100,000 ads, meaning what has worked on 5 specific ads, what's getting larger amounts of revenue from Google ads.
That's right, Google ads.
We're going to teach you a little bit about how to make your ads more effective. And there's a lot of mistakes that people are making on their Google ads. We audit accounts all the time. What are some of the biggest ones? We can switch to the first slide just to kind of show, we've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, we have. No, and I think common mistakes is something we see all the time when we look at accounts. And we're going to dive into it. Actually, we can go over what we're going to look into today. We're going to look at 5 real ads for 5 real clients that generated over $100,000 from Google ads. We're going to look at why some ads look good, but they flop. And we're going to go over the flashy versus the cash-in difference. And then we're going to look at what's holding you back and how to fix it.
The flashy versus the cash-in difference. I like that. All right, let's get to the meat and potatoes. Hey, thank you all for joining us on this webinar. We're so grateful to be useful to you. It's interesting. We haven't done as much. We haven't done as much on Google ads on our webinars and stuff like that because these guys are so busy.
This is true.
You guys are busy making people money, and I appreciate that. And to take the time out of your day.
Yeah.
To share with us what's making people money, I appreciate that very, very much.
Yeah, no, and I think there's a lot of value to what we're going to talk about today. So let's look at the first client.
Okay.
This client is a roofing client, and they're out of Las Vegas, Nevada. So the first big point that I have on why this ad worked is they use their real estate, and that's my biggest advice for y'all is you need to use your real estate. What does that mean? Is when you search something, everything that pops up on Google, that's called the search engine results page. And when you create this ad, there's so many things that go into it. There's headlines, there's descriptions, there's call outs, there's call assets, site links, business names, logos, images. There's all this different things that you can add on to it. And here's the kicker is that regardless of if you add it or not, you pay the same for the click. You pay the same amount.
When you're looking at auditing other people's ad accounts, like let's say other agencies or people doing it themselves, are a lot of them just not using all of them, even though they're basically paying the same amount?
No, what you'll find often is that a lot of them will just use headlines, they'll just use descriptions, they'll have a couple call outs here, they'll have a couple site links, but they're not really maxing it out. And the biggest thing is a lot of times people don't have business logos added. And oftentimes I think that's a big thing that causes your ads to hurt is if your ad pops up and rather than it being your logo and your business name, it's kind of the globe. You know what I'm talking about? Like the grayed out globe says sponsored. Someone is much more likely to click on your ad if they see your logo and they see your business name rather than the globe that's black and white and just your URL.
Yeah.
It adds a sense of trust. And again, you're paying the same amount for the click, but with making sure that you're using all the real estate you can on the SERP, you're going to make sure that you get a higher click-through rate, which in turn, more clicks, more conversions.
I'd say even this one, and this was somebody that made over 100K on this ad?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
100%.
so if you made 100K on this ad, would you say so roofing above the rest, that's a site link, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So in this case, it's like utilizing the site link as almost like a secondary slogan in their case.
Yeah, and really like these site links are meant to be, giving the user, giving the homeowner a sense of like, oh, they have different pages associated with this ad. Let me go look at what FAQs are. Let me go look at what roofing above the rest entails. And really, it could just be another, like a copy of your landing page, but really it's giving them the sense of choice of, hey, let me look at the options that are beyond this ad. And it kind of, it builds that credibility.
All right, let's look into another one.
Yeah. So client number 2 is an HVAC client, heating and cooling, that comes out of Frederick, Maryland. And here's what really worked for them. And here's
Can you give me the inversion, just to switch it up for fun right now?
Switching it up.
So we're just having fun. We're just having fun right now.
Yeah.
What is the opposite of this? Like, if you were to say what not to do, don't make this mistake.
Yeah, I would say don't not use you or your in your ad copy.
So
let me give
don't say we all the time.
Yeah, don't say we, and don't just talk about the service that you do in itself. So if you were to say, get heating and cooling restored. I know, with headlines, right, you're limited to 30 characters, and sometimes it can be tempting to just say heating and cooling services by itself.
Yeah.
Or it could be, for roofing, get a free roofing quote.
Yeah.
Right? What you want to do is you want to use you and your. You want to talk to the homeowner, not necessarily always about you. And so in this example, for this HVAC client, right, you'll see language like restore your heating and cooling, keep your family comfortable, same day service you can trust. And what this does is this really helps the homeowner, the user, the person that's searching for your service. It helps them basically put themselves in a mindset of they have an issue that they're coming to Google with. And if they see all this you copy, they kind of subconsciously imagine that their issue is resolved with your service.
So I always talk about this.
Yeah.
I always say this is important, and like I'm talking more about website copy and stuff like that. But you're telling me there's a scientific, money-based reason this actually converts better?
There is, and the interesting thing too is like everything that I just explained there. Like no one thinks about that. Like it's not something where they see an ad and they're like, oh yeah, this one says you. I'm imagining myself right now with my cooling restored and my house is not hot. No, it's something that happens in an instant. And they basically just see the ad and they're like, oh yeah, fix my cooling. Like I need to fix this right now. It's hot outside. We're in the summer. But there is a key money-making tool in this, and using you and your language and making the homeowner the center of the story when it comes to advertising to them.
I love that. And so do you guys try to apply that to like a lot of ads, or is this like something you experiment with and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work as well? Or
right now, I would say that this is something I really recommend that we have in every ad. Okay. This isn't something that I would say it's like, oh yeah, like we should be experimenting with it. It's something that's, I think, essential to ads.
Okay.
Because you need to be putting the homeowner at the center of the story.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Client number 3 is a plumbing company out of Houston, Texas.
Plumbing, baby.
Yep.
We love plumbing.
We do love plumbers. Taking care of the work, that's super important.
By the way, plumbers out there, we love you. I mean, my thing is like, dude, if we didn't have indoor plumbing, if we didn't have like running water, man, life would be a lot less comfortable. Yeah. I think that, I don't know if they always get the respect they deserve, but I respect the shit out of you.
Oh no, so much respect. I started out my career in kind of plumbing.
Really?
Water operations.
Really?
In Texas, yeah. I worked with the water company and I'd install water meters and do different kinds of things like that.
That's awesome, man. What did you ever feel disrespected when did you go out to people's houses and stuff like that, or are you working in commercial?
It was, I mean, I would go out and do leak checks. At one point I got sent out to a community to install even sewer lines. Yeah. And different things like that. And
there's a lot of money in the sewers.
There is. They call it the smell of money is what they would refer to it as. And, I was young, it was just a job for me, but I realized this is so important to our society and people don't really think about it. Yeah. But man, such a huge appreciation for plumbers out there. Yeah. Because it's a hard job, but it really matters. But getting into what works.
All right, number three ad, the 100K ads. Yeah. One for a plumber. Talk to me about what's making them money.
Be local everywhere, even if you're not. Now, I want to be clear with this one. I am not talking about if you are in, let's say, Houston, Texas, this plumber, right? Yeah. If they're in Houston, Texas, and their ad shows up, which it wouldn't show up, but let's say they're in Minnesota, right? Yeah. You don't want your ad to say local to Minnesota. That's not what I'm talking about. Now, obviously, that's an extreme example. But what I'm talking about is if their home base is Spring, Texas, right? But their ad shows up in Pinehurst, which maybe is 20 minutes, 25 minutes away. Mm-hmm. What you want to use is dynamic location-based headlines that basically respond to where the homeowner is at.
Is this you use the little squiggly brackets?
Yep, that's it.
You use squiggly brackets and then you put what, city?
Yep, you put your city and it basically looks at where the person is searching from.
Yep.
And where they are, it'll basically adjust the city name. And I think that is the biggest factor that I really recommend that you use in your ads. And I think it's a difference maker. You know, people want someone that is local, and whether or not they admit it or not, local gives a sense of like nearness, a sense of also a sense of credibility.
By the way, even if you're just talking about copywriting, like
Yeah.
I study copywriting, like direct response sales copywriting.
Yeah.
And anything with nearness in
Yeah.
it, like even like analogies, like close to the edge, or like head and shoulders above, the things that are near,
Yeah.
and they're like analogies, work better because it immediately, it's that the reticular activating system,
Yeah.
which it is scanning our environment and looking for things that are either important or not important.
Yeah.
And anything that's near or dangerous, or those types of things, grabs our attention much quicker.
Yeah.
So like in general, this is a good copywriting thing. And now you can use the squiggly brackets.
Yep.
Put the city in the ad.
Yeah. And a lot of people could say too, like, oh, like Spring, Texas is close to Houston. Like we can just call it Houston. Like Houston encompasses this whole area. But the way I like to think about it, right? We're in Minneapolis, right? I will give a local example. So, what's a suburb city up north? Let's say Maple Grove.
Okay.
We are maybe like 10, 15 minutes away from Maple Grove. The reality is if someone in Maple Grove looks up for a plumbing service, right? And they get two ads, and one says Minneapolis plumbers and the other says Maple Grove plumbers, more than likely they are going to click on the one that says Maple Grove.
Yeah.
Because they are going to feel that, again, that sense of it being local, which equals trusted, local, which equals fast, and local, which equals familiar. And it removes the hesitation of, will they service my area before they click? So that's a really big piece that works well for client number 3 across the board.
That's good. My wife was talking to me about that the other day. She's like, in our city, it's a small city, but if it says like us or like the city right next to us, she's so much more likely to use that company than any, just because she wants, honestly, in her case, she's like looking for smaller companies sometimes.
Yeah.
And we kind of give that like small like friendly feel a little bit from like tighter areas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too. And when we do audits and stuff, I would probably say it's one of the biggest things that I see that other agencies don't do, surprisingly.
Yeah.
They don't take advantage of these dynamic headlines. And that's a thing that I think is pretty essential.
Kind of wonder why not.
Yeah.
Why would you guess not?
I wouldn't know.
Are there drawbacks?
I mean, again, I think without having this like locality, I don't know.
Yeah.
It kind of gives, it's a huge benefit. I think sometimes they can just use cities like Houston or Minneapolis if there's like a neighboring city that kind of encompasses all of it. But realistically, I think you have a better edge when you do use these dynamic headlines.
And like the way that you're finding what's working is like essentially you're testing all this stuff. And then when we see stuff that's making people money, we like, all right, how can we apply that to all the other ads?
Yeah. So we look a lot at like click-through rate, right? Like engagement. Are these ads being clicked? And then obviously the next thing with that is this a successful client? Like, are they making money? And in the cases that we have here today, like these are clients that are making money off ads.
And we track all the actual money that comes from our ads,
Correct.
right? Like we're like actually like if they close the deal, we're tracking it. And sometimes that's done dynamically through things like Service Titan, and sometimes that's done manually. We're actually asking like, hey, did you close this customer? So if you're on the small side, it might be done manually, and on the large side, potentially through one of these systems.
And I'll be honest with you, like that's probably one of my favorite things about working in ads. And I think why I found a passion for it is because not only do you do things that work, and when it's done right, it really works, but you get to see the results of it. You know, when clients come back and say, hey, I closed this deal for $30,000, a brand new roof, or, we just had a remodeling company that closed for $170,000 that came from a Google ad.
When did that happen?
That was January of this year.
Yeah, 170K. I'm pretty sure we've had somebody with like a $500,000 roof commercial job before.
I'm thinking Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next one here.
All right.
Decking.
Yep, we've got a decking
All right,
right
let's
here
talk
in Minneapolis. This one is probably one of the more straightforward ones, and it seems simple, but realistically, I think it's very important. Every ad needs a call to action and a purpose. And the quick summary of that is people should know what your service is or what they should do within 3 seconds of looking at your ad. I understand that sometimes people like to get witty or they like to get creative with the ad copy and they like to, really do something that no one's doing. Oftentimes that's not really going to work for you.
This is what you're referring to. What was it? Flashy?
Flashy, exactly.
Flashy versus cash in.
Exactly, yep.
Okay, so flashy equals trying to be cute in your copy, trying to, I think sometimes people have like a branded language or something that they're trying to use a lot. And it's like, I'm sorry, your average customer is not thinking in those words. And so it confuses them.
Yeah.
And the ads tend to attract a little bit, a little bit quicker click than like maybe you're going to organic, or it could go down to their website and they could look through it and they could care about you. Ads a little, they don't care about you that much sometimes.
No, and what you might think is like, like you said, like your company slogan, your company brand, like, this is what we live and die by. Like the average homeowner might see that and just be like, what? I'm not really sure, but this next one says, deck contractors near me, like number one rated deck contractor. So basically make sure that you're not too witty in your ads and you're not too flashy in your ad. You want to make sure that people know what your ad is about. Funny story and this is like in-house. This is us. We had someone that had just started. I'm not gonna name names, but we kind of tested him out. We were like, make some ad copy, write some ad copy. Let's see what you can do. It's one of the things that we first do when we train someone in, right? And we had someone for a water heater company, and they were trying to get witty with it. Gave them no context, just write the ad copy. And the first headline I see is "endless hot showers," and I'm like, "Yo, like, what are we doing here?" Like,
hey, I kind of like it.
It's to us. We're like,
it feels
we see
nice.
It feels nice. But
give me that endless hot showers.
Yeah,
what do you not like about that?
Well, the reality is if endless hot showers is paired up against like on site in an hour, like water heater replacement, like which one are you going to click on, right? If your water heater went out, you want to click on the one that says like we'll be on site within an hour. Like,
okay, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
So there's this element of like we all want to make things fancy.
Yes. And I mean, even myself, when I first came on, I was like, I'm going to change the game with Google Ads and ad copy. But realistically, that's not going to work.
But clarity wins.
Clarity wins. Clarity, having a call to action, a purpose. And call to action is a big one, is give the homeowner, give the user something to do, whether that's creating the deck of your dreams, or whether that's schedule a free quote now. That kind of copy needs to be in your ad.
Well, the creative deck of your dreams sounds a little fancy.
It sounds a little fancy, but if you look at the description, you got schedule a free quote now. So it kind of checks out.
Okay, so it's pairing those things up too. If there is something, if you throw in an endless hot showers,
if you
better also follow it up with be on site in an hour.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get on you if you throw in an endless hot showers. I would definitely say we should test that before we mass apply it. If you're a water heater company, don't use it right away. Like test it out.
Maybe never.
Yeah. But even like Minnesota top deck contractors, like along with create the deck of your dreams, like you have that paired together. So you don't just want flashy.
All right.
But it seems like simple. It seems simple, but this is a really important one.
Yeah. No, that's basically fundamental, right? Let's go to the next one here.
The very next one I think is a big one. And
talk to me about it.
This comes from a roofing client in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Stroudsburg. Apologies for butchering that. I don't know.
I think it's Stroudsburg.
Stroudsburg. Alrighty. And it's use your sellers, right?
Okay.
And I'm not talking about the salespeople on your team. I'm talking about what about your company sells? Like what feature? What's the call out? What's the seller, and win where your competitors can't. And I think this is something that a lot of people are not really doing. They're not really utilizing this. You could do competitive research. There's such thing as a ad transparency center in Google that allows you actually to see what your competitors are doing. And I think that's a big part of strategy, and it's really important because, one, yes, you have a lot of cool things as a company, but what you really want to do is you want to compare what you have to what your competitors don't have, and you really want to push on what you have. And so for this client, right, top 2% of roofers in the US, something that they gave us, over 40 plus years of experience. This is something you're not going to find with your average competitor. And so this is what we're really blasting in ours. And
what if you're not as big or you're not that, right? Like, could I go like family owned and operated?
Yeah, family owned and operated.
Because I think like, you know, it's like use what you got too. Like, and sometimes these companies, like a bigger company could be like, they wish they could use family owned and operated and they're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you're small, you have other things you can use. And then when you're big, you can use the things that are the big boys use.
Yeah. And everyone has their advantages, like you said. Like even for people who are smaller, like maybe they can get out there quicker, right? Because maybe it's there's an owner's touch at every step. That's one that I like to use. Like
that's good. Owner's
touch at every step.
Yeah.
You know, on site within a day for roofers, or for HVAC, on site within an hour. But there's different aspects to it. But a lot of it is, one, assess what your selling points are, and two, do the research, look into your competitors and see what do they not have that we have and we can really try to sell.
They don't have customer service.
Everyone has customer service.
It's just funny. You know how like when people are in the initial meetings with us, sometimes it's like the same things come up as your sellers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How do you sort out what's just like something everyone says?
Yeah. One headline we've been using with like pertaining to customer service, which is like not one that you really think about, but call today, we'll answer the phone.
Yeah.
That's a headline we've been using because a lot of times, you know, you get companies out there that don't answer the phones.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty big like issue with homeowners, is they want someone who can just take the call, get them a solution as quick as possible. So call today, we'll answer the phone.
I like that one.
Yeah.
These are really good ones. So that's the last one, right?
Yeah, that's the last one.
What else do you have for me?
Why some ads look good but flop. And we've touched on this just a bit, but I want to dive a little bit more into it. One like subcategory of it is overhyping niche certifications. I think it's great to have that. You know, I think about like, you know, GAF Master Elite Contractor. Like that's just one that randomly pops up to me. But you got to think the average homeowner doesn't know what these are.
Yeah.
You know, someone random, like we know what they are.
Yeah. I honestly, dude, I was talking to somebody today and we were talking about, I was trying to role play as a homeowner.
Yeah.
And I was talking about like 25 square, like 25 a square or like 250 a square or something like that. I was like talking about the fact that like it was this cost per square. And it's very roofer language. And it's like hard to, if you're in that language, like you're talking about GAF Master Elite.
Yep.
It looks good because it says Master Elite. Those two words carry value, but the actual like they don't really care.
Yeah.
And like talking like just too niche.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, you'll find sometimes that, you know, you have agencies or other companies that will say like, "Oh, we have all these certifications. Like we really want to like hype this up. We really want to put this in the ad copy." And you'll see it all through their ad copy, like different things pertaining to that. If that ad pops up, the average homeowner doesn't know what you're doing, or it doesn't really mean anything to them.
But it feels good as an owner.
It does feel good as an owner, and I think it's a great place for
100 years plus combined experience.
Hey, I've seen that one before. I've seen that one. But yeah, if you've got really cool niche certifications, it's a great place for your website. It's a great place for even your landing page. But in an ad where the goal is to get someone to click compared to your competitors, like I think it's
waste.
A little bit of a waste. You could have it in there. You could throw it in there.
You found it to not help click-through rate.
Correct. Yeah, I like, it's kind of like with the endless hot showers thing. Like if you wanna throw it in there and like test it out with like really good headlines, like go for it. And we'll do that. Whatever you do, don't use endless hot showers and GAF Master Elite together, because that that's not going to get you anywhere.
Exterior and interior remodeling. I think that goes to another, just to read between the lines here too, of like people trying to do too broad of ads.
Yeah.
And not doing, like if you have multiple services,
Yeah.
let's say you do interior and exterior remodeling, that you should have separate ads, ideally for each new service.
Yeah.
Right? So that you're not like advertising to everybody. Every ad is not, because I see that a lot.
Yeah.
Like that's a big mistake I see on Google Ads is like people doing one ad for like way too many keywords.
Yeah, like water heaters, plumbing, like leaks, all that. Yeah, no, you definitely have to break it out, and I would say like ad group level breakouts are definitely something that you could do, but personal preference and my personal opinion is I think by campaign, like having a designated budget for what you want to target is the way to go.
And then this is a kind of covering the basics thing, but just a lot of people don't do it still. You should have a landing page for your Google Ads.
Yes.
So we've been preaching that. I think that we do it every single time.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, we do.
Is there any other, like, we didn't talk about this in this webinar because it was more about the ads and the ad copy and stuff like that, but is there any other like landing page mistakes or like recommendations you have?
Yeah, so I would really say, when you have traffic that goes to a landing page from Google Ads, from PPC, you really want to steward that traffic as best as possible. You are paying money for that person to get to your landing page. What you don't want to do is get them to a page where it's just absolutely bombarded with just text all through the page, right? Just text, 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 text. They're not going to read that. What you also don't want to do is get them to a page where they can just navigate the heck out of a website and go look at the reviews and go look at the blogs and go look at the images and go look at the just everything there is to look. It's good information to have, and you definitely want your landing page to be very informational, but you want to make it to where the only thing that they should be able to do on this page is either call or submit a form or book an appointment, depending on if you have that scheduler system set up. That's all you want them to do. And again, you still need to have information on there. You need to have good content. You need to gotta have good images because that builds credibility. But you want to make sure that if they scroll a little bit, they get to the bottom of the page and they click, contact us now, that redirects them up top to the page where the form is. Yeah. Because that's how you steward the traffic the best way possible.
All right. What's the second one on the? Because I was kind of adding extra stuff here.
No, that's good. The second one we've already talked about. It's sometimes being too clever, not clear. Having creative headlines that try too hard to be witty. And again, going back to you want them to know what you do in 3 seconds. If they don't do that, no matter how witty the copy is, they're not going to click.
All right.
That's the biggest thing. Next one. Now we kind of get into a little bit of a recap, really, like flashy versus cash in. What's the difference? We have a couple different features here of an ad. There's focus, call to action, copy, and targeting. And there's differences here, right? So with the flashy ad, it's more focused on the aesthetics, endless hot showers, versus cash in ad is results. It's like, what do you do on site in an hour? The feature, call to action. With the flashy ad, you kind of try to be hidden and subtle with it, like maybe just putting it in the just doing a little site link that says contact us, right? Just
maybe we want you to call us. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't want to seem salesy. I'm like, no, we do want to be salesy. It's an ad.
This is intended to get sales.
It's intended to get clicks. You want to be bold. You want to be actionable. With the copy, right? A flashy ad. It's vague. It's mysterious. Endless hot showers. I keep going to that example because we thought we were cooking with that one, but no, there is no cooking to be done with that. You want to be specific with the copy. Yeah. They need to know what you're doing. And then with targeting, we just talked about this. With a flashy ad, it's broad, it's all-encompassing, hyper-local, dynamic headlines, ensuring that your ad speaks to what the person searched. All right. So it's a quick summary of a flashy versus a cash-in ad, but that little chart. And what's holding you back? These are just a couple little quick points, but spending without strategy. Now we're kind of talking more broad with ads, right? It's setting a campaign and just letting it go. you know, you're being like, I'm gonna put all these keywords in there, just write ad copy, who we are, what we do, super broad. Not
Google's
being
got
specific.
AI, right? Should fix it up for us.
You know,
Auto apply recommendations.
Google has AI. Here's the thing. Google also wants to make money.
Yeah.
And how does Google make money? Google makes money when you spend more money. How do you spend more money? By basically getting clicks that are irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know, you with Google Ads, you really need to be intentional with what you're spending money on. And Google doesn't care. Google will, you know, you'll even get contacted by people who are with Google reps.
Yeah.
And they'll turn on all these suggestions, all these optimizations that they'll tell you are really good. I will say this, with Google Ads, you want to work with automation, but you can't just set it live with automation and automated bidding strategies. You really have to work your way up there and kind of hold its hand a little bit. And once you get to that point where Google knows what you're trying to do and you've gotten those results, then you can really start to lean on these automated bid strategies.
It's good.
Relying on generic templates, you know, and I think that goes too with like copycatting competitors blindly.
Can I share a story real quick?
Yeah.
It was really funny to me because one time we had an issue with the client. We lost them to a competitor, and we were so scared. We were so scared that they were gonna like copy all of our ads.
No.
Because we knew our ads were really good in comparison.
No.
We had some other thing that was an issue with the client. They went to this client, and then that agency turned all of our ads off immediately and uploaded just generic ads that they had. Like, they just had a template. Like, for every single ad account that they ever did, they just had a template. And I was like, oh. So, like, I mean, doing things that are somewhat customized to the client, how important is that before we, you know, because from what I understand, we don't just upload 50 ads all of a sudden.
Correct. No, we do not do that. You know, it's really important to us to get to know what our clients do and what sets them apart and who they're trying to reach. You know, all these different things go hand in hand. And, you know, even with looking at who their specific competitors are, like that's something that we do as well, because all of this stuff together works together for us to be able to create ads that work.
But you want to look at what your competitors are doing, so you don't do what they
exactly
versus sitting there being like, oh, they spend a lot of good money on Google Ads. I bet you their ads are good.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to just copy them. No, it's seeing what they actually don't do, so that we can counter that. You know, you also find people that try to bid on, you know, your branded name, competitors that want to bid on your branded name. And I think that's something that's kind of another thing that for some reason, you know, competitors think that will work well for them, but what they don't know is that Google recognizes that they're trying to bid on a brand name that's not theirs and just shoots the price up. You know, shoots the price up for them. Whereas if you have a branded campaign,
is that new?
It's relatively newer. I mean, in the past couple of years, like Google
Because
has,
I used to have so many more competitors bidding on her name, and now there's a lot less. So they must have like almost like made that less likely.
Yeah, you know, if you run ads and you run ads for Hook Agency, and a competitor comes and tries to run ads for Hook Agency, yeah, they might get the click, but it's gonna cost them an arm and a leg.
I feel like it would automatically be that way because it's not what the user wanted.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of times there's a principle there too. Like
quality
it
score.
should be more expensive to try to trick a user into doing something they didn't want because it actually negatively affects your experience on Google.
Yeah.
And Google's trying to make the experience on Google good.
Exactly.
It's why it's a lot easier to do ads for a company that's doing really good work.
Yeah.
Versus if you're doing ads for somebody who doesn't have a great reputation, and when they get to the website, it looks like junk, you know, and all those things. Google's like, okay, it's gonna be more expensive.
Yeah.
Quality score.
Quality score, and that's where it all comes down to too. Is like, if you have ads that are very generic and you're trying to target everything, and you know, they searched water heaters, but maybe they got an ad that just talks about them being plumbers, or maybe the ad copy talks about leaks, right? Like clogs. That's a bad quality score, right? It's not really what the user is searching. They're not getting an ad that is really specific to what they were searching. And what Google does is Google assigns you a quality score at that point. And if your quality score is low, you actually pay more for the clicks.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that direct correlation comes in. Not understanding the full funnel, ignoring optimization opportunities, that kind of just goes into like setting and forgetting campaigns. A lot of people think they can just have these things built out and just let it do its thing. Some people might even say just let it cook, but that's never the answer. You never want to just set something and not touch it. You want to be in it every week. Google Ads, the way I like to describe it and the way it was taught to me was it's all just one big ongoing test. And what you want to do is see what's working, what's not working. You want to take money from areas where it's being wasted and apply it towards areas where it's being spent efficiently. And that's all it is. And you can't do that if you just set your campaign and don't touch it until a month later. That's what you can't do. And a lot of times that is what holds people back.
All right. Do we have any more slides? This is our last one.
I think this is our last one.
Okay, I wanted to open it up for questions. I don't know how many people are in the chat right now. This might be people are going to be watching this later situation, but if you have questions on Google Ads specific to your situation, we'd love to answer them. If not, if you don't have a question, at least drop in the chat where you're watching from. Where are you watching from? Appreciate you guys being part of this. We didn't go the full hour today, but Joel is actually a really smart ad strategist, and if you got a question for him, please ask it. In the meantime, I'll just say, we're a Google specialized team. We do real in the trenches work on your marketing, not fluff. There's a lot of people out there that want to give you a brand audit or some nice to have marketing. We drive real leads through our strategies. We work with only home service businesses and contractors, and we're really, really aggressive about trying to help you get more leads. It's our main thing. So yeah, we love doing these webinars because it allows us to give back and allows us to kind of give a little bit of what our flavor is out into the world so that you can make a decision of whether it's appropriate at some point to work with us. And like we give the information, I think, too, to help people that are earlier on. Yeah. Like if you're doing some Google Ads right now for your roofing, plumbing, or HVAC company, hopefully a few of these things resonated with you, allowed you to optimize your ads a little bit better. And we'll probably do over this next year, we'll probably do a couple more like in-depth ad things because we haven't done as much of that. Yeah. And I think this type of thing can be very powerful for people. I talk about, just because I have the expertise around organic strategies and content marketing and website design, I talk about this a lot. Yes, Mandy.
One question from Patrick. He said, do you do many Bing ads and do you see good results compared to Google?
Patrick, appreciate that question. He asked, do you do many Bing ads and how do you see your results coming compared to Google?
So we actually have one client right now that's doing Bing ads with us.
Okay.
They're out of Pennsylvania. We do see good results. I definitely wouldn't suggest isolating Bing and just doing Bing. Yeah. I definitely think it's a complementary thing to do with, Google. There is something to be said about, the kind of demographic of people that are using like Microsoft Edge, right? Yeah. And, for contractors, that may be like
old.
Yeah.
And people who probably have like
55
a little
to 65.
bit more money, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they're older.
Yeah, so I think there is a lot of benefit to it. My biggest advice would be make sure your Google ads are set up right first. That's going to get, I would say 90% of everyone who's searching for services. But that extra 10% of people that are on Bing, that are in your prime demographic, yeah, go for it. Do it.
It just has such a lower market share. Yeah. So it's hard to for us to really recommend that usually. Yes, Mandy.
Edwin saying, how about LLMs?
Edwin, LLMs, large language models. Yes, so that's what he's talking about. Yeah, so they don't, a lot of them don't have ads yet, ad opportunities. As far as going after being in these things more often, the the best thing I can tell you about that is that all the stuff that you're doing on SEO usually is helpful to get in those more as well. But it's pretty early. So I would say as soon as there are ads on ChatGPT,
Yeah.
we probably will be one of the first adopters.
Yeah.
We'll be in there trying to run
100%.
ads. They don't have it yet. But one thing to note, and this is a good mindset to be in, you want to be wherever you can get more attention in ads. Like you want to get more attention, you want to get more clicks, you want to get more people to your website, and you want to get your name out there for more things. So whatever it is, you should be tackling it and going hard. As soon as those come up, there's always an opportunity at the beginning of things to be an early adopter to get more money quickly.
Oh yeah.
And there is a lot of, they have been hiring at ChatGPT, for instance, OpenAI. They've been hiring like staff for building like all their, because you can see job postings for people that would be running an ads platform.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, I don't know how far off that is.
Yeah.
I made a prediction at the beginning of this year that there would be ads on ChatGPT by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I mean, that might be, now that we're halfway through the year, that might have been a little aggressive, but I assume you're going to have to monetize this thing a little bit more soon.
Yeah. People are always in the business of making money, and ads are something that if there's a lot of people going to a place where there's high traffic, like there's going to be ads.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's a good question, Edwin.
That's all the questions.
All right. Well, thank you guys. You guys made this thing so much better by being here and asking those questions. If you're on YouTube or whatever, if you're on a replay, usually we put these out a couple of weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later. We'd love it if you'd comment your question below, and we'll try to get this answered. Otherwise, scan this QR code. Get an intro call, chat with us. We will do an audit on your ad account now.
Yes.
If you want to let us into your Google Ads account, we can look at it, and we give a report card, basically.
Yeah, a 20-point audit where we look at the top 20 points that are associated with any ads account. We basically tell you, are you doing a good job right now, or are you not doing a good job?
Yeah, and if you get that, you can apply some of those things yourself without even hiring us. It's free.
Yeah.
Or you could just have us do it. And we'd love that too. So appreciate you guys. Thank you for taking the time. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you guys.
Bye.